Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Two Podcast. My name is Brian. I'm your host here at the TTP. This is your spot for all your Hollywood news, TV and movie reviews, and, of course, my Take Two. Welcome to episode 276. Thank you guys for joining in here at Take Two Podcast. We've got a great show for you guys today. Ozark Season 4, Part 1, that just dropped. I got to binge all of that over the weekend. Also, Afterlife, which came out last week. Finally caught up on that Season 3 of that great show. And I finally caught up. I feel like I played a lot of catch-up this week. Finally got to catch up on The Eyes of Tammy Faye, that Jessica Chastain, Andrew Garfield film that came out back in September. Finally got around to watching that. I've been wanting to watch that because we've heard good things about the acting performances. And I will let you know if I agree or disagree a little bit later on when we have that review. Of course, the box office poll results. We have casting news, not as much as last week, but a decent amount this week. Some news as well, regular Hollywood news, that is. A double shot of RIP section. They are dropping like flies, as they say, this year. RIP to some great talents that we have lost so far in 2022. I don't know what's up with January, but we will remember those folks a little bit later on. Of course, DC, Marvel, a little bit to chat of it there. And then the going forward section is intriguing. You know, we are in the dog day. You know, baseball has its dog days of summer, you know, where it's just like there's not a lot going on. You just have your daily baseball. No other major sports are happening, and it's hot and all that. I feel like these are the dog days of movies. This January to February, award season stuff's coming up. So there's interest there for all of you and folks like myself who love this award season time of the year. But still, there's not a lot of hot releases every single weekend. You know what I mean? And next weekend, we're going to talk about how there are not any releases, let alone hot or heavy releases. But episode 276, folks, if you want to get a hold of the show in any capacity, at Take Two Podcast for Twitter. The hotline where you can leave a voicemail or text anytime, night or day, is 667-365-8253. Would love to hear from you folks there. Also, Facebook, Instagram, can follow along both of those pages as well. We have a YouTube show here at Take Two Podcast. Any shows that we put on, any interviews that might happen, celebrity stuff, any specialty shows that might occur, special guests that come on, try and get those on video, and those are all on YouTube as well, just for fun, a little added avenue there. And then, of course, the show is also on Letterboxd, which just gives you an added little of review. Nothing super special. All of our main stuff is here at Take Two Podcast. I want to give everybody a quick side note, all of you listeners who have stuck around and still enjoy the show. We're going to do some format changing coming up. I'll talk about it again and going forward, but I wanted to bring it up now. I'm thinking going forward into the show, we're going to get into some spoilers of things. I know a lot of our reviews here, I kind of just glaze over because I don't want to give away a film. So I think going forward, probably starting next week, depending on if there's anything to review next week, the reviews will start off with a overall impression, and then we will go to a spoiler section. Now, here's the best part. Since day one-ish, I've always given you guys the timestamps. They're always in the show notes for both YouTube and the regular, wherever you find your feed. The timestamps are always at the bottom to scroll down. And then on our social media, I try and give you an extra, just a little social media blast of the timestamps so you can easily find that and fast forward, because I would hate to spoil anything for any project out there. But I think going forward, we're going to get a little more in-depth into each review that happens. We're going to start that up next week. But I'd love to hear from you guys. If that's an avenue that you enjoy, if that's an avenue that you want to keep exploring, the show is going to... So the shows might be a wee bit lengthier, not too much. We'll still stick to that 45 minutes to an hour mark-ish. But just wanted to give you guys a little heads up going forward. A couple little changes, a couple little fun things are happening, you know, kind of keeping it fresh, keeping it hot. And getting into February, we've got special episodes coming up as well. So thank you guys for joining in to Take Two Podcast. I hope you guys are having a good time, as much fun as I am. Let's get rocking. Let's get rolling. Episode 276. Let's start things off with the box office. Okay, last week, Ghostface defeated Spidey. Knocked him off the top perch there. 5 weeks for Spidey. Congrats. Took you 5 weeks to drop down to that 2 slot. Ghostface came in there and slashed you all up and dropped you down there. And going forward last week, I said I would not be surprised, since there are no big releases this past weekend, to see Spider-Man then jump ahead. Simply because the horror second weekend numbers usually don't translate to still sticking with big numbers, even if they are a high percentage non-drop, right? I had a weird feeling that Spidey now might reclaim that 1 seed. Back-to-back weeks, I'm right. Not patting myself on the back because I'm too chubby and I can't reach my back. Spidey did it. They reclaimed that 1 seed. Now, the numbers, mind you, again, dog days of movies is where we're at right now. This is not the time, which is weird, right? It's weird because everybody's cold right now. We're in the cold. So why aren't people going to the movies more often when it's freezing cold in January? Well, the main reason is there's not a lot being put out. But the numbers are lower than low. $14 million wins the box office this week for Spider-Man. That puts them at $721 million overall domestically. That puts them at $970 worldwide and $1.6 billion worldwide overall that this movie is now made. 6 weeks of distribution. That is insane. That's a good chunk of change. They're going to keep chugging along. Like I mentioned already, spoiler alert for the going forward section. Ain't nothing coming out next week, folks. So there's no reason that Spider-Man can't keep it. Can Scream battle them to get back on top? Again, we'll talk about that later with the going forward. If they can fight it out for a week 3, it's going to be them 1 and 2 for a third week in a row next week. That I'll promise you. Who's going to take over? Scream did not miss by much. 12.4 million, 14-12. Not a whole lot there. That puts them over $50 million domestically. Rock on. That's great. Good money. Green light that Scream Part 6. As soon as you get, if I could, a little side Scream note, if you will. I wax poetic enough about this film and enough about the series, but I'm sure most of you folks have heard by now how many Easter eggs, how many nostalgic moments they throw into the movie going back, right? And they throw you things from parts 1 through 4, and then they give you some going forward. There's so many people who have been killed in previous films. They give you a voiceover of a different character in this one. Tons of them, right? They get every single character that got killed by a Ghostface in the past. They get their voiceover work to do a toast in the film. That's not a spoiler. That's just a little fun factoroo, Easter egg. So there's so many nostalgic points in the Scream movie. I almost feel like you can't top it in part 6. So you would almost have to kind of go away from that going forward into part 6. Does that make sense? Like, it's almost like that would be the only caveat where I don't want a part 6, because it's going to be hard for them to destroy their nostalgic moments that they gave you in this one. They would just have to move forward and not own in many of those, because you can't get better. All right, I'm sorry. Back to the box office. Spider-Man No Way Home, $14 million, number 1. Scream, 12.4, number 2. Sing 2 grabs another $5 million. Redeeming Love, that was an opening weekender there, $3.7 million. Good for them. The Kingsman, 1.7. Puts them over $30 million. 355 gets $1.6 million. That gets them over the $10 million, up to $11 million. American Underdog, $1.2 million. The King's Daughter, I mentioned this last week. I think I forgot to mention last week that this movie has been on the shelf for like 8 years. It's been just sitting, chilling for a long time. And they chose this weekend to finally drop it. Either way, $750,000 they bring in. 9th place, West Side Story. Licorice Pizza comes in at 10th place, and it just gets themselves over the $10 million mark for them. So there you go. Like I said, next week, the box office is going to be, again, Spidey, Scream, who's going to win. It'd be hard to think that Spider-Man isn't just going to keep that spot and hang on to that number 1 seed. They'll probably make another $10 million. What they do, 14 this week. We'll call it 11 next week. Scream will probably come in with like 9.5. Write that down. Just told you exactly what the numbers are going to be. So it'll be close again. Spidey will probably win once again. Then once we get to the next week, February, there's actually a big release out there that might defeat both. And it's insane to think of what this specific movie to win the box office. We shall talk about that in a couple of weeks. A little bit of a teaser. If you think I'm being a jackass, I'm sorry. But now it is time to move on to our weekly poll. Hope everybody picked up on that one. Anybody grab that? No? Yes? No? The weekly poll this week, we mentioned last week that the Batman is rated PG-13, and I said that's a good thing. And I know people are out there all up in arms. It should be rated R. This is ridiculous. Why can't you rate my movies R? So not going down that soapbox again. We talked about it last week. My question was, to all of you folks, what drives your choice in film that you're going to watch? Is it the cast and the director? Is it the critical reviews that are out? Is it the runtime of a film? Or is it said rating? Like, which of these 4 factors the most for you? Which of these elements of the film is your driving force to why you want to go see a film? I thought the easy answer here was the winner. 62% on Twitter. Cast and director is the number 1 reason that you guys choose a film. I think that should be kind of the obvious towards everyone. Reviews, the critical reviews come in second place at 19%, then your runtime at 13%, and then the rating at 6%. So interesting. I think a lot of folks, that adheres to what I would think as well. Like, the rating doesn't drive, it's rated R, let me go see it. So that made me happy to see that the rating coming last here. I did get one commenter on Twitter that this guy DCR Writes, little shout out buddy, Dave Robinson, what's going on, said none of the above. Okay. comment below, folks. Your choices, please feel free to comment below at any time. That's the best part of this. If none of the 4 choices I provide, comment below. Forget the whole of these choices sentence. Comment below your thoughts. And then Dave, I said, Dave, please elaborate. I loved this conversation. And he said, essentially the story, the genre. He said he loves sci-fi type things. So that's what drives him. So I understand. So I guess my next question would be, okay, your story, obvious. So A is your storyline. Marvel movie is out. I want to go see a Marvel movie. Period piece film is out. This is my genre. I want to say. Now my question is, what drives you the most out of your genre that you like? Now where do you go? Is it because of that cast? Is it because of the reviews it has gotten? Because of the runtime? I think still most folks would adhere to the cast and the director attached to the project. Instagram, we got a couple of commenters. Pancake for Table. This is Friday Night Movie Pod. This is Shy. He said his co-hosts and his sisters on his Friday Night Movie Pod, Lily and Becky, are the number one go-to for why he chooses a movie to film. That could be a jab at his sisters. I hope it is, because I love their show, and their sibling rivalries are fantastic. And that's arguably the best part. The chemistry of their siblingness, their sibling chemistry would probably have been a better sentence to say, is a big reason that the show is fantastic. So that would be why Shy chooses that. And then he said in second place is Take Two Podcast's recommendation. So thank you very much, Shy. And then, like Batman Craig, he came in and he said Take Two Podcast's recommendations. And thank you. I feel that was like Craig giving me a virtual huggy through the pod worlds there, because he knew that this podcast needed a hug last week. Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you very much, all of our commenters and everybody across the board for joining on the poll. It drops every single Thursday. And so you can vote on that, share that, comment below on that. Anything you want to do there, it lasts all the way until Sunday. Tell your pals, get those ratings, get those votes up for everyone to see. Now, time for the reviews. We're going to start off with the most hot and heavy, I guess. We'll just do the most recent. That would be the word, is that Ozark Season 4 drops its final season. Fun factoroo. This is not it. We're not done, even though it's the final season. They decided to break it into 2 parts. They decided Season 4 is going to be a Part 1, Part 2. 7 Eps Part 1, 7 Eps Part 2. The Part 2, we have not gotten a release date yet, but for it to be eligible for the 2022 Emmy Award season, it's got to drop by May 31st. So I'm guessing, educatedly, that Part 2 of this will drop before May 31st. If anybody knows that exact release date, please let me know on the side. Again, 667-365-8253. I looked a little bit, did not find it. So if anybody knows off the top of their noodle, shoot me a text, DM, or at Take Two Podcasts for email. Or, excuse me, for Twitter. Take2podcast@gmail.com for the email. Let me know. Ozark, absolutely adore the show. Love Season 1. Love Season 2. At the end of Season 2, literally thought, we're done, right? How can you keep going? I don't know the storyline that's going to happen after this. This is weird. How can you keep going with the storyline? Season 3 winds up being arguably the best season that they had. I could not have been more wrong. Season 3 was absolutely fantastic. Now it's like, all right, where are we going to go with this? Now, they did something that I love. They knew from the get-go this is going to be our final season before they started writing the final season. Absolutely love it. We've all been there. We've all been watching a show. Halfway through the season, they decide they're not going to get picked up. It's just going to finish. And now they're like, uh-oh, let's pivot with these last 5 episodes and try and wrap things up. And then it's kind of like, oh, you left me with what I did want to get left with. Now, it's not always perfect. It doesn't mean that just because the writers know this is their final season, they're going to do a good job. But past precedence with the Ozark people is that they are going to do a good job here. This is, of course, Laura Linney, Jason Bateman. I specifically say Laura Linney's name first because this project started off Season 1 as Jason Bateman's baby, right? He's EP on this, part of a creator collaboration process in here, and the lead. It was booked as a new Jason Bateman show. She took over, right? Anybody that watches this knows that her character, Wendy Bird, took over this show, Season 2. Completely took over. And that's not to knock Jason Bateman. He still does a great job with his character. But Season 2 and then Season 3, it was the Laura Linney show. She absolutely dominated this thing. She was phenomenal in Season 3. Wendy Bird, I had this discussion with people about Carmela Soprano. Like, who's the baddest wife of a bad guy, right? That spouse bad guy. And we've now reached a point where it could go the other way. The male is the spouse of a bad woman or whatever. That's where we're at with Wendy Bird. Wendy Bird is more badass than Carmela Soprano. And in my world, that's very, very high praise. Carmela was supportive. She helped out. And she was, evil in her own right, but in a more supportive role. Wendy Bird is evil. This lady is vindictive and and smart too. She knows what she's doing. And a bit emotional in season 4. Sophia Hublitz and Skylar Gartner, they are their kids. I will say the biggest flaw with season 4 is that, especially Jonah, the son, Skylar Gartner, he hit a growth spurt, man. He definitely hit a growth spurt in between filmings of season 3 and season 4, because that kid was like, whoa. That kid went from, a little 10-year-old to, that kid's, a solid 17, 18-year-old trying to play 14, because he was, it happens. It might be a factor as to why they're like, oh, we better wrap up the show. So the kids definitely hit a very, Sophia Hublitz, you can tell she's not 17. She's really 22. And Skylar especially, you can tell this kid is definitely older. Either way, Lisa Emery, Julia Garner. Lisa Emery, I know nothing about. She plays Darlene Snell. And she just plays that level of evil where you're just like, God, I just want to slap this woman, like, sorry, never hit a lady, but you just wanna, right? Like, this is one of those people you want to shake them. Like, you're just a jerk. Like, that's it. Like, nothing else. Stop it. Stop being this way. Like, that type of character. And golly, does Lisa Emery own it? And Julia Garner, I actually wanted to circle back to her, but I'm not. I got to talk to her. She is a national treasure. I love this girl. I love everything she's doing. I can't wait to see other projects that she does down the road. We mentioned last week in casting, she's got stuff coming up. She's fantastic. She absolutely owns this role. I'm curious to see her in another project where the F word isn't in every other sentence. Like, can she do a character where it's not just dropping F-bombs, but they work for her? They work in every sentence for her. They're not just misplaced profanity, which happens often. Absolutely love her. The rest of the cast are fantastic. Okay, season 4. They are now in deep with the Mexican cartel. They are in deep with the mob lord, and he decides to adhere to them as opposed to the other people. He had options. Does he go with the lawyer? Does he go with the birds? Who does he align his businesses to? He decides to go with the birds. Now they're in trouble because he also gives them a bit of a liaison, his nephew. We've seen this story before, right? The younger, hot-headed family member now wants to take over the business, and he wants to do things his way, and he kind of gets himself into a little bit of trouble, and if he wasn't the nephew of the big boss, he probably would have been whacked by now. That's essentially the story that we're getting here. Now the nephew's trying to take over. He doesn't like the birds. The bird family, well, of course they don't like him. He's always threatening them, but they're like, time out, your boss is our boss, who is your uncle type deal. There's side stories in here too. Julia Garner's character, she's mad at them because she was dating Laura Linney's brother. Tom Pelfrey, who should have gotten nominated last year and did not. Absolute travesty that he was not nominated last year. So she's mad at the Bird family on that avenue, so she starts working with the Snells. I'm not going to give away the entire thing. Like I said, next week we're going to change things up and get into spoiler territory so that we can talk more in depth with these reviews. But this may be one of our last ones where we just kind of glaze over the storyline. Again, hit me up on the side if you want to chat about this. I would love to talk more about Ozark Season 4. Here's the deal, guys. It's fantastic. I love the show. I'm addicted to the show. When I first looked, I was like, 14 episodes. I forgot that we were getting the part 1 and the part 2. I was like, all right, pot committed. Let's rock out. Not watching any football this weekend because I'm diving deep into it, which is a fact because my brother and cousin were texting me like, holy crap, the Niner game. Did you see that? I was like, nah, I'm sorry. Watching Marty Bird getting almost his face shot off on Ozark. I'll circle back later. I highly recommend, if you guys have not watched any Ozark, it's on Netflix. Binge it quick. You'll be able to. It is a phenomenal show. I am really looking forward, especially now that you're able to get into, there's 7 eps remaining, and they should be dropping early May. Can't imagine it dropping any later than that. I mean, this thing is a high 8.4-ish, I think, on IMDb. High Rotten Tomato score, if you don't believe me. For my money, it's tough because Bateman has such a long line of comedies that you would say you love him in. But to say this isn't your favorite role of his, just in an acting performance, it's hard. And Laura Linney, I will say it, and I've loved her in many things. Love Actually, and I'm not going to list all of her movies, but she just is fantastic. Wendy Bird, I think, is going to go down as one of the most badass characters in television. Like, just evil, that you're not expecting it. She's so smart, so clever. I can't. It's like when Julia Garner first came on screen, and her character Ruth comes on screen, I was immediately sad, realizing that we only have so many episodes of this character remaining. This is how much I am enjoying the show. Highly recommend Ozark, folk. Get into it because a lot of people die. People you're not expecting to die. People you're not expecting to kill said people wind up getting whacked. And then deals are being made with the FBI. Deals are being made with the mob. How do they get out of this jam? How do they get into that jam? And the best part about this season 4, part 1, there's 7 more episodes to go. We still get to finish it all up. This ends with a bit of a cliffhanger. Going on to the next one. Boom. They had me hooked. Ozark season 4, highly recommend. Jump on it, binge it, knock it out as soon as you guys can, because the finale is going to be coming up in about 3 months, and you're going to want to be on top of this. All right. Wrapping up with Ozark, let's move ourselves right along to the eyes of Tammy Faye. It's really, I didn't feel stuffy at all. I still don't feel stuffy, but once I got to chatting, I was like, I gotta blow my nose. I haven't blown my nose in years. Are you guys big nose blowers? I'm not a big nose blower. That's the weirdest sentence I've ever said. Are you a big nose blower? That might have to be the title of the episode. Big nose blower here. Mike Showalter directs this. This is based on the documentary about the Eyes of Tammy Faye. Jessica Chastain saw this and was enamored with it. As soon as she saw the documentary, she wanted to make this film years ago when this came out. And so she started floating this into circles. It got picked up. Obviously Chastain's on board. She wants to play Tammy Faye. Andrew Garfield comes in and he's playing Jim Baker. They get Rachel Grover. Yeah, they get Sherry Jones to play Rachel Grover. Vincent D'Onofrio is playing Jerry Falwell, which is wild. Sherry Jones is just one of those actresses that I swear to God, all of you know exactly who I'm talking about right now. You know the woman. You might just not know her name. She's one of those. She was in Signs. She was again. I'm not going to read off her IMDb. This is about the true story of Tammy Faye Baker and her and Jim Baker starting their big PTL. They're from how they met in college, and then how they college age. How they don't go to college. They start their own ministry where they're trying to get the word out. They start by her using puppets and just talking to an audience, trying to get the word of Jesus Christ out there and spread the peace and love of Jesus Christ. And I'm saying their words. And then they wind up getting in with Jerry Falwell. They wind up getting in with people that can put them on the TV, and they get in with Pat Robertson, and these are their idols, but then they wind up starting their own shtick. They get done dirty at one point. They're like, well, fine, we'll go do our own thing. And then they start literally their own network to the point where then they get their own satellite dish, which puts them above Jerry Falwell, Reverend Jerry Falwell, excuse me. And it puts them above Pat Robertson, right? Two, gigantic icons of the time. And this is 70s, 80s, where it wasn't, we didn't get to parody level of these people yet. Like, this is still back when people bought into these folks more than now. We didn't have such a cynical view or an educated view of what some of these preachers were trying to do. I should put that into quotes, right? That's your story. Side story, their marriage, children, what happens with their marriage, etc. I will be honest. I knew about them being, spreading the word, folks and ministers doing their singing and their dancing and what have you. And I knew them obviously as a kid. We all saw the parodies of them. It was like, what is that from? And then you look it up. You're like, oh, these people. I'll say this, number one. What they were trying to do was not bad for the most. They are trying to spread peace and love and educate people in a positive manner. It's not like they were out here to hurt people. And I think that might get misconstrued in today's view of Tammy Faye Baker and view of Jim Baker, like they were evil people. No, their intentions were pure. It gets joked about, and that style of fire and brimstone preacher on the TV and singing and dancing to try and, get your money. Sure, that gets looked down upon by a lot of folks these days. And then there are folks out there that still buy into it completely. Good on you. Again, I'm not against anybody who's out here to do good. Now, granted, the other part of that story is that they did keep a lot of that cash for themselves. All those donations didn't exactly go to help the homeless. For as much help as they did out there in the world, they sure as heck helped themselves first, right? They lived in a nice house. They had bought lots of nice clothes, mansions, cars, you name it, right? More behind the scenes things are they weren't exactly faithful to each other. And that's the story here. That's exactly what happens between Chastain and Garfield, Baker and Baker, if you will, Tammy Faye and Jim. This movie is good, okay? It's good. It held my attention the whole time. Acts 1 and 2, fully involved. I wanted to see what happened. Act 3, that's when the repercussions come for some actions that they shouldn't have done. And now we're like, all right, so what happens now? How do things kind of wrap up? You were bad. You weren't very honest with people. What happens in the very end? That part of it's kind of like, okay, neato. Now that it's wrapped, I'm all done. But Acts 1 and 2 are fantastic. And I very much enjoyed seeing them build this world and build the what's it called? Just the whole production studio that they had. It was awesome. It was great to watch. So the storyline is fine. I think you'll enjoy it. This is rentable on VOD. You can find this easily. So I think anyone that has any interest whatsoever in watching this, rock on. Definitely do it. The acting performances. We have heard nonstop about Chastain. She got Golden Globe nommed, and she got SAG nommed for this, Best Actress. 100% deserves it. 100% will get an Oscar nom. Man, it's a loaded field. I'm expecting her to get the Oscar nom. She is fantastic in this. There are many, many, many times where I vehemently tried to figure out if that's Jessica Chastain. And I just watched the thing with her and Oscar Isaac on HBO, a month ago. So I'm sitting there thinking, I know Jess Chastain. I know her voice. I know her mannerisms. Is that her? Time out. She does a phenomenal job of being Tammy Faye. And then, of course, you know what I did, which a lot of us do, like afterwards, then I went and I wanted to look up videos of the actual Tammy Faye. Now, at the end of this movie, they give you a little side-by-side. They see her and the actual Tammy Faye, and then they show them. And when they do that, you're like, son of a beach. She nails it. Absolutely nails this woman. The beauty of the makeup for her is that throughout the majority of the film, you can't tell whatever prosthetic she's wearing, whatever she's done, that she's wearing any of that. But then when it gets to a point where you're like, oh my God, she's got like buckets of makeup on. Like, what are we doing here, Harry? That's because the actual Tammy Faye Baker wore buckets of makeup on her face. So I wonder if it was easier for the makeup department or more challenging for the makeup department to A, make her look like Tammy Faye Baker, and then B, cake on the makeup on top so that it didn't look like they were just using caked on makeup to cover up Jess's face versus make her look like Tammy. Does that make sense? Like, was it more challenging to make it not look like they were doing a parody of her type deal? She's fantastic. If she wins Best Actress, I won't be mad at it. I won't, because she does a great job. Do I wish she was in a better film for it? Sure. But again, this movie's not bad. It's not bad. Garfield. Everyone's talking about his acting performance in Tick, Tick, Boom and how he should get a nomination. This would be one of those wild years where you see a guy nominated twice. He's fantastic as Jim Baker. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm sitting there looking at, now granted, he doesn't have the face, whatever. They make him chubby in this. He has some prosthetics that make him a little bit chubbier because Jim Baker was a little bit chubby, a little rounder around the face. Kind of like mine, a little chubby face. And obviously Garfield is not a chubby dude. So there's a little less squinting of the eyes where you're like, is that Andrew Garfield? Because you can actually just see his face properly. But he does such a good job, man. He is such a phenomenal actor. And I just think we hit a moment in our lives as Andrew Garfield watchers of, oh yeah, he's fine. Oh yeah, he's fine. And I mentioned this during Tick, Tick, Boom. And I mentioned this during another movie that he might be in this year. Where he then like progressed to, oh, wait a second. Like, remember that movie? Remember Social Network? Remember what was the war movie? Hacksaw Ridge? Like, he's freaking great. And here's another example. So he's not going to get the nom here because he's probably going to get the nom for Tick, Tick, Boom. But would I be shocked to see him like jump in and get a double nom? No. And are there people out there that think this is the movie he should get nom for? Sure. Would I be mad at it? A little bit. But my point is, he's that good. I would love to see another film with Garfield and Chastain together because they have like 3 to 4 scenes in here. One of them lovey-dovey, another one hooting and hollering at each other, and then just another one just kind of like normal process of day. It's easy for viewers to watch actors scream at each other and think, woo, that was a good scene. I'm guilty. I love it. I love watching people just go at it, right? But a chemistry between two actors who are not just screaming at each other, but still in a deep, heartfelt conversation with each other persist also. And that's another level. And these two have it. They have it. Let me see it again. So, long way of me saying I would love to see Garfield and Chastain in another project together. I just want to see the two of them in projects in general. A negative in the acting might be too strong a word. D'Onofrio. And I love D'Onofrio. I've said that a lot. I talked about it on a Disney Plus show that he was on recently. I'm really trying not to give away spoilers. If anybody's picking up on me glazing over what shows people are on. He gives, if you guys remember, he also played Kingpin back in Daredevil. He kind of sounds like him in this. He gives his gruff, really slow talking, Reverend Jerry Farewell. And he sounded like Kingpin again to me. I was like, wait a second, is that Kingpin with a wig just playing a preacher? This is kind of wild. But it's D'Onofrio. He does a good job. Everything is in. I want to circle back to Sherry Jones, who plays Tammy Faye Baker's mom. She's a jerk mom, doesn't love her or support her to a degree, but she's just good. She's just really good. Everyone in it does a good job. Acting, performances across the board, great direction, great editing, everything top to bottom. Will this get nom? No. Is it a fine movie? Yes. Should you watch it? 100% because of the acting performances at the very least. It's on, you know what? I think it's on HBO. I believe I said a couple seconds ago you can VOD it. It's on HBO Max. What am I talking about here? I apologize. If anybody just wants to spend money, I owe you $2. I'm sorry. Go to HBO. If you don't have HBO Max, then give me my $2 back. The movie's okay. It's worth the first 2 acts to watch, but you need to watch it because the nominations are going to come from this. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. It is 2 hours long. Enjoy. Lastly, Ricky Gervais in Afterlife Season 3. This one snuck up on me, to be honest, and I was looking forward to this, waiting for this to show up because I really enjoyed Seasons 1 and 2. I really did. Season 1 was the easy, wait a second, this is Ricky Gervais? Wait a second, he's Mr. Cynical Comic. How is he doing this very heartfelt, dealing with life, loss, and grief, and mourning, and all this kind of thing, and a project created by him. You know, these are a storyline and stuff that he is very much behind. He created and then jumped on board with some writers to make this. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Season 1 was great. It kind of opened your eyes to there's more to Ricky Gervais than just being that, the comic that makes fun of other people and that, straight and narrow comic that tells it how it is or whatever. I adore his comedy. I think it's funny. Season 2 was even better than season 1. It took all those characters that you had, developed them even further, gave a little more length to some of the characters who were on the side. Now you're invested in more than just Ricky Gervais's character, which is what a good TV show gets you to do, where you're more invested than the side characters than the lead. And I was very much looking forward to season 3. Season 3 comes. It was fine. It was fine. It's not on the level of 1 and 2. It kind of felt like it just was treading water and playing in the pool that it created for itself. And that was fine. We talk more about death. We talk more about mourning and grief. We realize that some characters haven't moved on as much as they think and we think they have. And I think that's where it might have lost me, because I was under the impression after season 2 was over that now Ricky Gervais's character is ready to kind of move on and move forward. A couple other characters kind of ready to move on and move forward. No, not the case. So it was a little different than what you might be expecting in that realm. The side characters, on the other hand, we developed the hell out of these side characters. Diane Morgan is Kath. Tom Basden is Matt, his brother-in-law. Joe Wilkinson and Tony Way, these guys who play his buddies. They get a lot of play here. And you actually get into their characters where season 1, they seemed like sideshow acts where it's just we have these funny, goofy people that he's weirdly friends with. Why is he weirdly friends with them? Well, it gives you kind of like a weird, awkward giggle whenever they're on screen. Well, now we're giving these characters actual heart and actual development. So I don't want them to be as jokey. Joe Wilkinson's character, Pat, he's this hoarder and he smells and he always talks about raunchy crap or whatever. I wish they would now get away from that, because now the character develops to a point where there's more stuff going on in his life. He's becoming a regular human being. Give me more. Give me more of that now at this point. Don't make it as parody level-esque as it was in season 1. Now I'm actually enjoying that character. Joe Hartley is June. She does a really good job as well. Either way, we get more flashbacks of the wife in this one. Carrie Godleman plays the wife, Lisa, and we get a lot more video of her. And we just learn that the grieving process and moving on and figuring out who you are, it takes a while sometimes, and that's okay. And it takes a while to just kind of get back out there. And you don't have to rush, but you definitely don't want to sit back. And there's a lot of good moments where you almost want to pause and write that down. You know what? That is a good point. That is something to think about in life. That is a good tidbit that I should wake up each day and think, hey, I'm here for a reason. Let me own today. Let me make the best of today. Tomorrow's not a guarantee. And I'm not going to look at that as a negative. I'm going to look at it as today is a positive. You know, I take it in my own life where I tell my kids all the time, it's like, today's Monday, and I'm recording on a Monday, actually. So I tell them, hey, today's the best day of the week. And they always go, Dad, no, it's not, it's a Monday. Today's the best day of the week because it's the only day of the week that you could look forward and say, I'm going to dominate this week. And I subscribe to that. And I hope everyone else has a similar feeling or tries. This is the type of the show that tries to put you out there. Like, yes, our lives suck. People's lives suck. And you can sit here and say, that sucks, that sucks, that sucks. And it is destroying my life right now. So you can either just sit down and veg out on the couch and just watch TV and do nothing and become a recluse introvert, or you can get out there and you can just go for a walk and just smell the air and just enjoy life. And I think that's a lot of what this show is talking about, where just go out and just be you and just live life. Because next thing you know, you'll blink and 15 years will go on by and you'll be like, why did I do this? Why did I just waste all this time doing nothing when I could have at the very least put it out there? Great side stories with some of the characters. And if you really want to read into it deep, it's very smart, very well done. Just some interpersonal thought processing type of moments in the show. And I really enjoy it. Was the season as good as 1 and 2? Nah, not at all. Will there be a season 4? Don't know. The way season 3 ends, there's a very curious moment there. And I read some interviews with Gervais about maybe yes, no, we don't know type thing. It wraps up where this could be it. We're all done. See ya. Bye. But then it also leaves stories open to, like I just said, I would like to still visit those, please. Let's get back to that, especially Gervais's character, Tony. That's it. Season 3 of Afterlife. I recommend it. If you have not watched it, guys, they're only 6 episodes and they're only 30 minutes. Not even. You'll knock it out. You'll knock this thing out real quick. And it's well worth it. I will say seasons 1 and 2, bring a tissue, bring a hanky, because you might tear up a wee bit if you have a soul. That's it. It's on Netflix, by the way. All right, done with the reviews, done with that part of the show. Thank you guys very much for listening to Take Two Podcast. Once again, 667-365-8253 is the hotline. Leave a voicemail, shoot me a text message. I won't answer the phone, I promise. We won't actually chat. If you want to actually chat, my real life phone number is, I'm just kidding. Hey, listen, if we become friends, maybe. At Take Two Podcast for Twitter. Take Two Podcast is on Instagram, also on Facebook, and you can follow the show on YouTube and on Letterboxd, and take2podcast@gmail.com for your emails. Let's go, baby. Let's get on to our casting couch. Ahsoka Tano, the baddest Jedi in all the land. Is she? Could anybody beat Ahsoka? Anybody out there? Any Star Wars nerds? You think Ahsoka's the best, the worst, medium? We have added Mary Elizabeth Wanstead to the cast. Now, this series is dropping soon. So this is, sometimes we get these casting, like breaking news, new casting has been announced. This stuff has been in the works for a long time, or has already happened sometimes. But we're just finding out about it now. So, great actress. Very intrigued to see what role she plays now. She has been added to the Star Wars universe. The show True Love. This is directed by Gareth Edwards, John David Washington, Allison Janney, Benedict Wong. We've already talked about these folks. Danny McBride has had to step down because of scheduling differences. So Sturgill Simpson is jumping in for him. I'm not familiar with Sturgill. I apologize, buddy. But I probably will get familiar with you now because you're going to be in this True Love show, which I'm interested in. And then Mark Menchaca, who is in Ozark and who is in The Outsider. He has also been added to the cast. The Perry Mason Season 2, baby. Very much looking forward to this. Sean Astin. Oh, yeah. Rudy himself. Shea Wiggum, oh yeah, Boardwalk Empire, and Paul Racy have all been added to the cast. I'm pumped for that one. That show needs to drop really soon. There is a Beauty and the Beast prequel series coming to Disney Plus. This will be 8 episodes. This deals with life before Belle, life before the Beast. This is Gaston and Lafleur, and it was Lafleur, right? What was the candle's name? LeFou. Lafleur? LaFleur was the candle. LeFou was the short chubby guy, right? Oh, crap. Oh, man, somebody yell at me. I know you are. LeFleur was the short chubby guy, played by Josh Gad, and also in the animated. LaFleur is the candle, voiced by Jerry Orbach. See, how do I know that crap, but I can't think of this guy's name? I'm getting it right. Beauty and the Beast. Either way, Josh Gad and Luke Evans are back to play that character. and Gaston. No one messes up names like Brian. And they have added Jelani Aladdin and Brianna Middleton and Fra Free. Fra Free, you know from Hawkeye. He was Echo's like number 2 guy there in Hawkeye. Jelani Aladdin, Brianna Middleton, I'm not familiar with, but we're adding a person named Aladdin to Beauty and the Beast. Anyways, man, I gotta Google their darn names. I probably got it right. Did I get it right? LeFou. Shoot. And finally, Fatal Attraction. That series, we announced that Lizzie Kaplan, she's going to be playing the Glenn Close role. Well, who's going to be doing the Mike Douglas role? Pacey himself, Joshua Jackson. Charlie Conway, back on the ice, baby, is going to be in this Fatal Attraction series. So, what is Josh Jackson more known for? Mighty Ducks, Dawson's Creek, Dr. Death, Cruel Intentions. Not going to read his. I don't even have IMDb up anymore. I can't think of a Beauty and the Beast name, but I can read you Josh Jackson's credits. All right, on to the news. No story time this week, guys. I think I bored you to death with last week's story time. Sorry about that. Not sorry. But none this week. We're just going to go straight into our Hollywood news. Leading off with some RIPs. Meatloaf passed away. Super sad. I know there's some jib-jab out there because he was anti-vax and then he dies of COVID. That's not what we're going to talk about here. Bottom line is that Meatloaf, an icon, American icon, not only for, the Bat Out of Hell album, which is huge, and then all the other music that he produced out there. But then he was in so many movies. He was in so many movies and TV projects, of course. Cold and lonely in the deep dark night. Louis Anderson also passed away. And Louis Anderson, I remember vividly replacing Family Feud when he jumps on Family Feud and became the host there. And this is back when you could watch Family Feud with your actual family, as opposed to that raunchy clickbait crap that Steve Harvey does now. Family Feud these days, they let anybody on as a cast member or as a contestant. Anyhow, Louis Anderson was great. I remember him, and his comedy was so good. And he owned like that I'm fat, let's just be funny comedy. And from everything I've read, he always seemed like one of those like sweetheart of a guys that because of his body type might not get the respect that he should, but he really was just a phenomenal person deep down type thing. And from the things I've been reading, that all held true. So anyway, R.I.P. Meatloaf, R.I.P. Louis Anderson. You guys will be missed. Bong Joon-ho is in talks to write and direct his latest film. He's working with Warner Brothers. Hello. That's a step up from his independent studios that he used for his last couple of movies that won buttloads of awards. Warner Brothers are going to be producing this, and right now circling Batman himself, Robert Pattinson, to be the lead of his next project. Untitled, as more on that develops, we will bring to you. Christmas Story getting a sequel 40 years later. No, thank you. Why? We already had a Christmas Story sequel that nobody watched. Doing another one, bringing them back. Now, granted, some of the cast members from the OG have passed away, so you can't bring everybody back. I did not see a lot of detail on what this storyline is going to be about. This has got to be Ralphie's kids, right? Maybe Ralphie now has children, and Ralphie's going through Christmas, or their kids are going through Christmas now in 2022, 2023, as this thing comes out. I don't know. I will do my due diligence and look into when details are more released on this and let you guys know. But I don't know. My initial reaction to this is, hard pass. Aristocats is getting a live action. Again, hard pass. Shy, what's up, man? Talk to me about some live action cats. Aristocats, the movie, is going to be singing, it's going to be dancing, it's going to be live action cats. I feel we just saw this 2 years ago, and 2 people in the world liked it. Loved it. Mission Impossible 7 and 8 have been delayed again. This was going to be the year of the cruise between Top Gun and Mission Impossible 7. Super looking forward to this, but they pushed it again. And I mean, the studio and Cruise, they want their money. It's funny because remember at one point Tom Cruise was here to save Hollywood, and that was like his shtick, and he was yelling at people filming on set because they weren't following protocols back when we had those COVID protocols. And he legit came out and was like, Hollywood's counting on us to save Hollywood. We need to save it. We've moved on, buddy. That was 3 years ago. It's time to get these movies out there, and we got to wait until 2023. MI7 will be 23, and MI8 will be 2024. Major bummer, because I'm just looking forward to those projects. But hopefully, since they filmed them back to back, and since they have them in the can, that hopefully this wraps him, because I mean, he's in great shape, all that stuff, yes, but at one point he's just going to be too old for the role, and I don't want us to get to that point where we're like, ugh, you know, he's the guy, he's Roger Moore, James Bond level of old here. Let's move along. Hopefully this does wrap things up and we already have it all done. That wraps up our Hollywood news. Now it's time to move on to our DC discussion. We got a runtime for the Batman. We got the rating last week, and that's going to be rated PG-13. Awesome. Runtime, 2 hours and 47 minutes, with the credits 2:55. Okay, I mean, whatever. We're going to invest. My issue with all of these projects is rewatchability, right? Now I have to invest 3 hours of my life to rewatch this movie. This movie might be phenomenal. And it probably, all points are signing to. All signs are pointing towards yes. It's going to be great. I'm in. But come on, 2 hours and 55 minutes. Geez, and you got to stay to the end because they might do a post-credit type thing. And I get it. We're going to have to develop some serious characters here. We're developing a new level of Gotham and a new world. So there's a lot to get into here, but come on. We did get a 2-minute clip they released online. We put it onto our Facebook page. I put it on Take Two Podcast Facebook, and I shared it on Twitter as well for just a 2-minute scene. There's a funeral scene. Bruce Wayne's there. He saves a kid. Guy gets out the car. We get a look of the silhouette of Riddler up in a balcony at a church or whatever. Pretty cool scene. Pretty looks awesome. I know there's a lot of folks out there that are desperately trying to buy into Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, and they're just not loving the look that he's giving us because he looks very emo. I can't argue against it, but I'm putting my faith into the project where I think it'll be okay in the end. So let's just wait until we see before we start hating it. Lastly, listening to a podcast recently, Jensen Ackles said that he was working on a secret DC project. He's doing something for DC, and but he couldn't talk about what it was, obviously. And just kind of thinking, what would he be good for? What role would he work for? There's a litany of things that we could find for him. But then I was thinking, Batgirl just released that picture last week, a mural of Batman and Robin. So we know that Keaton's Batman is part of this Batgirl world. Keaton is 89 years old, whatever. His Batman is old, 89 number used specifically. So Robin's there too. So now Robin needs to be older. So if that Batman is 60, then this means that Robin needs to be 40, and Jensen Ackles is 40, right? Meaning he turned into Nightwing, had a career as Nightwing, and he's probably on the back half of being Nightwing. So my guess, if I'm putting these numbers together, is that Jensen Ackles is playing an older version of Nightwing, which would be cool. That would take away the whole romance story of Batgirl and Nightwing. And I think we're going to get a whole, not true to the comic storylines out of this Batgirl project, but I'd be totally down for that. You know who else would be completely down for that? My wife. Number 1 in her top 5 is the old Jensen Ackles. Fun times. Now it's time for the Marvel Minute. Eternals passes opening week numbers passes Shang-Chi, for its opening week numbers on Disney+. So remember when Shang-Chi jumped over to Disney+, after it was in theaters for a minute, and then we all watched it and it was amazing, and it broke all those Disney Plus records. Eternals not past that, and a lot of people watched it. And it's really funny, because if you look, you're just like, you see people that are like, what were y'all talking about? Eternals sucked. And then the next tweet, what were y'all talking about? Eternals is amazing. This movie seems very divided, and there aren't too many people that are meh on it, Everyone's just like, that movie was great, loved it, loved this part of the Marvel world. And then other folks are, that movie was absolute garbage. Why did I have to watch that? And why do I have to sit through a second one? Scroll back. You'll hear my review from earlier in the year. The Moon Knight trailer, we got that Moon Knight trailer, and it looks fantastic. We were talking about how dark it looks. It looks like Disney Plus's darkest show. One thing I forgot to mention, at the end of it, like, it didn't give us that Marvel joke. Usually on Marvel trailers, they give us that joke at the end. And I forgot to even think about that it didn't do that there. That was a reason it was so dark. But it is the highest viewed trailer for a Disney Plus show ever. 75 million views it came out for on its first day, and it's continued to be viewed. It's going to be a huge one, and I'm just intrigued to see where they go. And lastly, we got a look at the 2022 schedule for Marvel and all of its movies and TV projects, everything on Disney Plus and everything in the theaters. And What If Season 2 and the Secret Wars have been removed. Are they canceled? Are they done? Or are we just pushing them to 2023? That we don't know just yet. But as of right now, they will not be in 2022. All done with episode 276. It is time to go forward. In theaters this week, nothing. This was Morbius's weekend. And, you know, when they pushed Morbius 3 weeks ago, we all thought, not we all, but I and other folks thought, are they doing this so that Spider-Man can keep making money? Well, Spider-Man only made $14 million this past weekend. They're going to make, let's call it $14 million. I said earlier 11, so I'll stick with the $11 million this weekend. That's not enough in my mind for Sony to say, "Ooh, let's push Morbius. Let's push that off of there so that we can let Spidey keep churning out cash." Well, yeah, 11 million is great, but that's not churning out the cash that I think maybe they thought they were getting. So the other factors for why they're pushing Morbius are still in play. Still have COVID restrictions, still have all that kind of thing going on. Got it. It's now coming out in April. They have a timeline that they're adhering to that they can still wait on this film. Cool. But in my opinion, why'd you move it? Like, outside of all those 7 things I just listed, I wish it was coming out this weekend. But the only big release this weekend in the theaters is that Beatles Get Back, which I already reviewed, which is fantastic. It's on Disney Plus. It's 8 hours long. It's coming to IMAX. So you can watch that whole thing in IMAX. Cool. Cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it. But the IMAX, now granted, it's not the full 8-hour thing. It is a little trimmed down, if you will. On HBO Max, you get The Fallout. Jenna Ortega and Maddie Ziegler are in this movie. The main reason for this is Jenna Ortega is in Scream, and she does a great job in Scream. And now she's got this. So it's kind of like a quick follow-up for her, good for her. This kind of helps her career out, moving forward into some more adult roles. So intrigued how that goes. On Netflix, you get the Angry Birds movie, Summer Madness. That's your big one. And then Home Team. This is Kevin James playing Sean Payton. The whole premise of this movie is when Sean Payton was suspended from the NFL, he coached his son's 6th grade football team for a season. And that's kind of what this is about. No joke, man. I don't know. If I was Sean Payton, like, as far as Kevin James in a talent level, great. I would love to have him play me. But Sean Payton's a thinner guy than I am. And I know I personally would be like, oh, Kevin James has like a couple more pounds than me. Like, no disrespect, Kev, but I don't know. That's not who I would pick to play me. But either way, maybe Sean Payton signed off. He's like, hey, I don't care. Whatever. I ate too much that week. Or maybe that's part of the storyline. Maybe he got super fat and we didn't know about it. He was suspended from the NFL. He's like, I'm just going to eat like crazy. And we just never knew. So they're like, oh, we got to get Kevin James because he's got like 1 or 2 more pounds on him. One of the best stand-up moment. Sketches, if you will. No, not a sketch, but one of the best sequences in stand-up ever was Kevin James's Hallmark, when he's trying to pick out a Hallmark card versus a woman picking out a Hallmark card. Phenomenal. Really well done. That was one of my favorite moments in stand-up. Okay, Amazon Prime, you get that Needle in a Time Stack film. Finally is dropping on Amazon Prime this weekend. And then on Disney Plus, you get the Ice-Aged Adventures of Buck Wild drops this weekend. And then Random Rings, seasons 1 and 2. And this is where Disney characters prank call people, essentially. Like, they call random people as a Disney character and then chat with them. I'm kind of intrigued to see how that goes, and my phone is on. I would love it if Gaston gave me a call and we just chatted about weightlifting or something to that effect. That is it for episode 276. Going forward for Take Two podcast-wise, you have the Realm of Take Two returns for his January episode. Very looking forward to this. I have it on good authority. They should be done. Roy, your host of The Realm, is done with The Witcher Season 2. And we'll be giving you a full review there, amongst other things, knocking that out. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to Take Two Podcast if you're new here. If you've been here for a long time, thank you very much for sticking around. I much do appreciate it. Ratings and reviews are always much appreciated, as well as sharing the show just on your socials. Hey guys, I'm listening to the show. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out as well. Good buddy Bart put on his Instagram, hey, we're on YouTube as well, just randomly. It was very nice. I very much appreciate that. So not only the rating and review, but if you guys don't mind just like sharing maybe onto your Facebook, onto your Instagram, whatever, I'm checking out the show. So should you. Episode 276. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great night, everybody.